Hi, this is Sadie Miller, and you're listening to the Sirens of Audio.
G'day audiophiles, you are listening to the Sirens of Audio, the podcast that explores the universe of Doctor Who and the audio medium. My name is Dwayne.
And my name is Philip. G'day audiophiles. G'day Dwayne.
G'day Philip. It's a great one we've got today. We're going to be having a chat with Chris Thompson, and unfortunately I wasn't available for that day that you spoke with Chris, so I haven't heard this one all the way through yet.
Well, I hope you enjoyed, Dwayne. I certainly had a great time with it.
Tell us a bit about Chris. We've had a Chris Thompson on the show before. What's the difference between that Chris and this Chris?
Well, I've actually worked out there's 3 Chris Thompsons around. I've seen a photo of the 3 Chris Thompsons together. So the Chris Thompson we had previously, he works for, I've forgotten who he works for.
Eaglemoss.
Eaglemoss, thank you, do all the minifigures. And he's also been highly involved with all the Time Lord Victorious set. So hopefully actually he'll be coming back on. And he's also got another special place because he's actually my cousin. So that's the connection we got there. But this Chris Thompson, he's a graphic artist, but his speciality is making videos. And so a lot of the videos that you see promoting the big finished stuff to come, and usually it's the big stuff to come, the big series, the Christopher Eccleston or the new Space 1999 or the Ravagers series, that's going to be Chris who's made the video for it. So I'm chatting with Chris about the whole process of how he started, how he got into it, but also where he gets his ideas from and a bit of how he models it. So this one, there's going to be lots of visuals. So if you're listening on the podcast, guys, we're going to put the links below in terms of the videos. So when we get up to them, you can actually stop and watch it so you know what's going on. You can hear it anyway. You might recognize them anyhow. But for those of you just watching on YouTube, you guys are already set because you're going to watch them.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. But it's been a while since we've come across one of these, Philip. But here's a rabbit hole. Here we go. All right. So for this rabbit hole, since we spoke about your cousin Chris Thompson, I wanted to raise the issue of merchandise, because in the current Doctor Who climate, I have noticed a huge drop in merchandise, and it didn't strike me so much because I'm not a huge merchandise buyer in the first place, but it really struck me recently when I went into a JB Hi-Fi and all the Doctor Who DVDs that were usually in alphabetical order across the top row in the D section of the BBC videos are all down the bottom, kind of put out of sight. And it made me think that our show seems to be losing popularity. Would you agree with that? Well,
there's certainly been a big effect in terms of popularity recently. There was a podcast I listened to. Now, who is it that did it? There was a podcast about a month ago, all on merchandise. It's an Australian podcast.
42 to Doomsday, it was?
42 to Doomsday, that's right. And they interviewed someone who's a merchandise person in Victoria, in Melbourne. And he was talking about the fact that everything had declined. But certainly in the newsagents, you see there's less Doctor Who magazines around. You're right, less DVDs. I do know the BBC are now producing smaller and smaller sets of the new DVDs. So when David Tennant's whole season came out, I think it was 100,000 they produced the first time. I think for Jodie's last one they did 20,000. So there's certainly not the same sort of buying happening there. There's still big money in merchandise. I've been playing around with starting to collect the Doctor Who hardbacks because I completed my entire paperback collection and blue spine collection and had nothing else to do with my money, stupid me, and thought I'd start playing around with the hardbacks. And some of those are going for $2,000-$3,000.
Yeah, but I would say that that's more like collectibles rather than merchandise, because merchandise I see as new things being produced. The hardcover books are not new. You've got to source them and find them from all corners of the globe. But It's merchandise,
Yeah,
and
no,
even as far as the DVDs go, we had a far bigger selection of DVDs than we used to.
Yep.
Previously, now we don't have such a big selection of DVDs. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean the classic series stuff that's being re-released now in terms of the seasons, they've been hugely popular. So the blue, what's it called? I haven't got it. I don't even know what it's
Blu-rays?
called. Blu-rays, that's it. I don't have a Blu-ray player. I refuse to get another set of DVDs or merchandise that way. I mean, the Blu-rays, when they originally came out, they did the reduced size run, and they sold out immediately. So the BBC now is re-releasing them in standard packaging, and once again, they're having huge sales in terms of the classic series seasons. All the fans are buying that up, but it's not bigger sales than the new series is selling for.
So, in terms of the television series, there's a lot of rumours at the moment about what's going to happen, whether there's going to be a rest after the end of the Series 13, whether we are going to have a regeneration or not. So I guess we also had the annual that came out for the first time ever without the image of the Doctor on the cover. So whether that has to do with a marketing decision, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a marketer, but certainly a lot of people theorise that it was a marketing decision of sorts. I hear Doctor Who magazine is dropping in circulation, so things might be starting to close down. Do you have any speculation on what's going to happen with the TV series after this next season?
Well, I read something during the week which was saying is it 7 or 8 episodes this year, and then 2 the following year. I have heard some gossip about doing in the 60th year, bringing back Doctors to do their own specials. So, a David Tennant special and a Peter Capaldi special, so all the Doctors get a special. It's hard to know what's going to happen exactly. I know what I'd like to see happen, but I don't know whether that will happen or not. We'll just wait and see. But I do think, I think doing new shows with old Doctors would be fantastic. I'd love to see, Paul McGann has to get one, to see all those Doctors get a specially written special for each of them. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so what... Let's say, for example, let's theorise or speculate that the show is rested for a couple of years. What do you think that will mean for Big Finish? Do you think it will mean anything at all for Big Finish, or will it just continue as it's looking to continue?
Well, provided the BBC continues to grant the licence to Big Finish, and I think they've got the licence for another couple of years organised, I think the BBC would be mad to give up the licensing fee. As you've mentioned, I think merchandise is dropping all around the place. I think Time Lord Victorious was an attempt to bring in extra merchandise and sales because they knew that the new series stuff wasn't being as popular. And so they were bringing back some more popular Doctors from the past. And so they created the whole Time Lord Victorious series, which looks like it's been fairly successful. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them, supporting Big Finish. And I think their license will be safe. And we'll continue to see better and best stories, I think, Big Finish. Because I still think what Big Finish is producing is better than the TV show's been producing for quite a while. What about you? What do you think was going to happen, Dwayne?
It's really, really difficult to say. I don't know. But the problem is I've kind of lost interest in the main show. I've lost interest in the TV show. For a start, I've said a few times now how I disliked Revolution of the Daleks. I didn't like that very much at all. I know plenty of people do, that's fine, but plenty of people don't, and I'm one of those. I think the thing that really got me was this whole cancellation thing and John Barrowman. Like, I can understand to a degree why the BBC might have had a policy to remove things or veto things that had John Barrowman, the actor, in it. But when it came to that comic, that Titan comic, that had Captain Jack in it, and they're starting to cancel a character, it seems to me to be a bit beyond a joke now. So, as far as that goes, I see those kind of decisions tied in with the main TV show. It's kind of made me lose a lot of interest. Like, I've never lost interest before, ever. My interest has dipped in the show, in season 7. Season 7, when they split it in half, I kind of lost a little bit of traction there with the show then, but I had never lost the interest to the degree that I've lost it now. And, for various different reasons, that cancellation of the comic was really, really got on my goat, that one. So I just don't comprehend the need to cancel a character. So as far as Big Finish goes, I hope they continue to go because, that's where the real stories are happening, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. That's me.
I guess the sad thing is the level of hate and vitriol that's around. It's people can't even agree now to disagree in any polite ways. And so, I'm similar in terms of I've only watched the last 2 seasons through once. I've not gone back. I've not rewatched it at all. Where previous seasons, the first few seasons when it came back, as was the classic, I watched over and over again. I just haven't had the interest to do that, and I know other people love it, and that's fantastic. I'm happy for them to love it. But as soon as you say that you aren't as interested as they are, or that I think you think it's not quite as good as it was, the attack that comes is just horrendous, and so it's just divided. I think it's partly social media. We're just becoming more and more divided, but more and more hate-filled in our division, and that's what bothers me more than anything else.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, that's just a few of our thoughts in terms of merchandise, but cover art's important, so. Why don't we just get out of this rabbit hole and we'll jump straight in to your chat with Chris Thompson.
Let's go. So when we think of Big Finish, we think of audio. But although writers are great at painting pictures with words, sometimes you need an image in your head before it gets going. And one of the great designs is the cover art, and also some of the videos that go beforehand. And for those sort of things, you need a graphic artist. And today I'm talking to Chris Thompson. So Chris, welcome.
Ahoy, ahoy.
Hey, good to see you. So, firstly, where are you? Where are you coming from in the world?
So, I'm coming from Belfast, Northern Ireland. It's a wonderful grey morning, kind of like they all are, but we don't complain too much.
Well, we're in the middle of winter here in Sydney, so we're all complaining about how cold it is. We've had snow, not snow in Sydney, of course, but snow over the mountains. That means we complain and whinge about how cold it is. But it's worse for other people around Australia because Melbourne's just coming out of lockdown, but on the whole, we're pretty good. How have you been in terms of COVID?
Well, it's not been too bad here. Northern Ireland's basically open. It's just mask usage and there's a few restrictions and things like that in shops and stuff like that. But it's perfectly fine for the moment. The population density around here is quite low, so it didn't hit us that hard, really.
That's good, excellent. And different places have been all sorts of issues. So do you want to tell us a little bit about growing up?
So I basically grew up in Belfast pretty much all my life. For ages and ages and ages, I didn't really know what I was wanting to do with my life because it was always going to be something ridiculous, like astronaut or extremely rich person that saves the world in some way, shape, or form. As I was growing up, particularly when I was about 14, 15, the new Thunderbirds movie was coming out and the new Captain Scarlet series was coming out. And watching sort of the behind-the-scenes videos and things like those really got me into kind of the film, making films and things like that. And it was particularly holding out for all the concept art that would appear. So it'd be this is what the new Angel Interceptor will look like. And this is Thunderbird 2. And you can see the development of how they design those new things really, really appealed to me. So I started doing my own movies, sort of with my friend at school. Had reasonable success with that. We accidentally designed the logo for a New World Order cult that nicked our logo, which was interesting.
What do you mean? What happened there?
So me and my friends made this show called EDF, Earth Defense Force. And it was kind of you could just say it's quite close to Captain Scarlet, basically. We're a bunch of people that save the world with spaceships and things like that. And there's a couple of episodes on YouTube. It's not amazing. But around the same time, whenever online forums were sort of picking up on the internet, and it was basically the precursor to Anonymous, was this kind of forum called the Earth Defense Federation. And it was basically just this rich guy called Matthew Ringrose that wanted to scam a bunch of teens into giving him lots of money on the promise that they will change the world in some way, shape, or form. But to do so, he Googled EDF, found our logo, and put that up. So I found out about that about a few years afterwards. And it was quite fun. Well, funny. It wasn't fun at the time, but it was like, okay, this is going to make an interesting story eventually. Sort of kept making movies. I made a version of Mission to the Unknown back in 2008, and I made a Thunderbirds fan film in 2009. Like, don't get me wrong, the Mission to the Unknown film is fine. It's not a patch on the one that just came out recently with Andrew Ireland, but I was quite proud of it, and particularly the Thunderbirds film I made. It got me a lot of attention. It sort of got me gigs doing like sort of artwork for like conventions and things. And eventually Jamie Anderson stole it. And that's how we started working together, because he had just set up Anderson Entertainment at the time, or reset up Anderson Entertainment. And we were starting a project. So that's how I started working for Jamie. And then through Jamie, I ended up working for Big Finish.
So how long have you been working with Jamie for?
So I think we first became aware of each other in 2012, but I think kind of officially I've been working with Jamie since 2014. I had to redo the Space Police logo for a book release, and then it's sort of been like spiraling out of control from there.
So have you actually studied much in terms of graphic artistry, or you've just learnt media after media, or have you?
So I kind of fell out of school with not a whole lot of, I had A-levels and they weren't great A-levels. And it was particularly in the last few years of school is whenever I started learning like 3D modeling and basic filmmaking and stuff. I was my school's first ever film student, because back then you could do film as a subsection of art, and they kind of took a chance on me. The only real study I have done is an HND, which is like a 2-year course in film and media production. And that's it's sort of like filming interviews and documentaries and things. For the most part, it's YouTube. And it's mainly my so far flawless plan of saying I can do things and then desperately trying to learn how to do them on YouTube like the night.
How do you go about constructing a short movie?
So it sort of depends it usually starts with Blender in some way, shape, or form, because it's like if I'm doing a 3D model of any kind, I need to build it. And for that I use Blender, which is like it's a open source 3D modeling program. It's free. It's just got a very, very steep learning curve, but it's getting less steep. Like it's a lot more accessible than it used to be. From that, I would take stuff into After Effects to do like colorful particle effects, like explosions and things. Everything gets edited together in Adobe Premiere. Then if I'm doing an image, obviously, then instead of to Premiere, I'd go to Photoshop and do stuff that way. Okay.
Well, what I thought I might do now, for those of you listening on the podcast, I'm going to put the links into the show notes so you can go have a look at what we're looking at. But I'm actually going to put in a video now, so we have a look at one of the ones, and then we'll discuss it. So if you're on podcast, go look in the notes at the end and watch what we're about to watch. Those of you on YouTube, it'll be all set for you.
I think my first ever proper one for Big Finish was either Terrorhawks or Captain Scarlet, so that might be a good shout to start with if you want.
Okay.
This is the voice of the Mysterons. We will turn your weather against you. We will destroy the world's greatest nation. We will starve the world of
That's that, Lieutenant. Now it's up to Captain Scarlet. A robot?
admit no one.
Beginning to fall back. I am losing control.
Can't you squeeze more speed out of this confounded crate?
If and when Captain Black is positively identified, your objective will be his complete and utter destruction.
Farewell, Captain Scarlet. Even you can never survive a plunge into the sun.
So in terms of the elements that you created, what were the elements? Did you create all those elements from scratch?
Yeah, basically. So I'd already had Cloudbase from a previous project and the SPV, but I can't remember exactly what the time frame for that one was because I got to sit in on the recording. So there's actually a few other like documentary style YouTube videos on the Big Finish place as well, just with Liz Morgan and Wayne Forrester and Jamie, just us all bantering in the studio. Yeah, pretty much. It was like I needed to somewhat make London. I needed to make the Oceana, the submarine. Needed to make there's that like power station which I deliberately designed to look like a Mike Trim design. Just kind of stuff like that, and it was all a bit of a rush.
So what about the marionettes? Where did they come from? Were they stock images you had?
So ITV is pretty free when it comes to sort of like how images are used and things like that. Like there's stuff that we can do on like things like Scarlet and Terrorhawks and all that we can't necessarily do with Doctor Who. So we were able to take footage from the shows. I was able to somewhat rejig it so they're saying like the audio lines. Yeah, just kind of almost treat it like it is a new episode.
What did it take you to do that?
So I think I get a lot more time nowadays. I think we plan sort of releases in advance a lot more. Those days it would have been less than a month, and it might have been about 2 weeks.
Of solid work?
On and off, I'd say. Like I've usually got a few other things, but at least for like a good week of it, I'll be like,
right. Do you leave things to the last moment?
I try not to. And particularly now, like visit approvals and things like that need to be sort of sorted, and you need to give the guys like time to be like, we want this to be changed or anything like that, because you don't want to like put something in at the 11th hour and have them feel like they have to accept it. You
came on to Big Finish because you could associate with him firstly.
Initially, so on the first Terrorhawks release, Tom Saunders did the trailer, and I initially worked with Tom just providing models, and then separately through Tom, I submitted some things to the Prisoner trailer as well. It was the first big solo Big Finish project I had was Dalek Stanley, the stained glass Dalek for the cover of Audio of the Daleks.
Yes, which is behind me here. Oh, there.
Yes.
Which hand am I using?
I love your background.
Yeah. That's not the Dalek you actually used on the cover, though. But did you model that? Is it 3D modeled, and then
it's 3D modeled? You
could then revolve it and decide whatever angle you wanted for the cover.
Yeah, again, Tom did the trailer for it of the Daleks, but he had my model handy, so you can actually see that it is. You can sort of rotate around it a bit and see it in motion. That was a fun project because it was basically like, cool, this is a cool idea. You have a week, or whatever it was. So it was just a lot of very solid back and forth between me and Jamie trying to get what he wanted out there. Like, I'm pretty sure if I went back and did it again, I'd do it differently. But out of everything I've made, like, Stanley's always kind of the one that keeps popping up. Like, I've seen it become like 2 or 3 people's like art projects in school, and
actually making it for real.
Yeah, either making it for real or doing like sort of a miniature version or things like that. There was a girl who did like a metal one. Like that piece of art there was what was on the cover of her folder, and I was just like, oh, that's cute. But and yeah, it's sort of the first thing of mine that's ever really gone that way.
I was actually showing my daughter last night the Dalek, and we're trying to work out the different images you'd chosen to use in the stained glass. What did you choose, and why did you choose the? Because stained glass always tells stories.
So yes, stained glass does technically supposed to tell stories. I just didn't have the time to kind of develop them, if that makes any sense. So that is basically modified stained glass panels from a church nearby.
Right.
So I rejigged them slightly so they would like reflect kind of like alien-y landscapes. And I noticed other people when doing stuff with Dalek Stanley, they will like, and it's what I've generally told people is just like do your own thing with the stained glass panels, because I think there's like 6 of those Daleks in the story and then 1 black Dalek, which I always just imagine being like sort of grayscale. Anyone could just make their own stained glass Dalek. Like, it's fine. I'm not precious.
Let me show another video. Can I? I'm not sure the Space 1999 one. Okay, now I have to admit that when I saw that, it took me right back to my love of Space 1999. Now, let me just stop share. There we go.
I heard it had that effect on people.
Yeah, I mean, part it's the music reconstruction was just wonderfully. That's Benji Clifford, isn't it?
Yeah, that was really nice coming in, because anytime anybody tells me they're gonna do a cover of the Space 1999 theme, I'm always like a bit. You sure about that? But then Benji said that through, and he'd sourced like the original guitar and stuff like that, and Benji knows what he's doing.
He does indeed. I age, and he wouldn't know because you're way too young. The record that came out called Jeff Love and his orchestra does Star Wars, and Jeff Love was a conductor who's had an orchestra, and they did Star Wars or space themes, and one of them was Space 1999, which was the only copy I could get of the soundtrack for a long time, but it's just awful. Like truly awful. So it's nice to see the right thing. Now you have combined so many different elements in that.
I think it's like 45 individual effect shots for that one, because obviously I just did the trailer for Volume 1 at the start of this year, so like it's the PTSD came back. For that one, we were very lucky because whenever they're recording things, that Jamie got, I think it was James Winch, down with all his costumes and things like that, and they even filmed a little bit with Mary Theresa Creasy and Mark Bonner.
So they're original costumes, are they?
I don't know if they're original per se. I think that the James does have original costumes. I think some of the props they're holding are original in like some of the other like sort of publicity photos.
Okay, but I mean, the shots with guns in that. And the red spacesuit and things. So they're all props. They're all costumes that Jamie had.
Yeah, well, James Winch had that Jamie had invited down. It meant that we had like actual photo reference and like again video, which is for Big Finish is completely unheard of, or at least until now when we started doing like the odd occasional thing. So that was really nice, and yeah, then it was just getting down and doing. Whatever 45 separate special effects shots or whatever it was, which was a lot. I think I had 9 days to turn that one over, and yeah, it was. Okay, actually, I've got 9 days for Space 1999, and about 4 days in, my computer explodes.
Oh, what was that?
Died. Just the rendering, it was just like no more space, no more egos. So yeah, in the middle of that, I had to basically run around Belfast. I think it was a Sunday as well, so it was going to be 4 hours before anything opened, because everything only ever opens on Sundays at 1 here. Yeah, I had to swap over to my laptop, do a bunch of like non-digital stuff, like that opening shot of the guys in the spacesuits in front of Alpha and things. And just hammer out as many shots as I could without using computer graphics. And in the end, I just had to buy a new computer because it's like I can't really afford to miss the deadline. But it's all good, and the trailer came out all right. Like it shows it's like how like the speed of which it was made at, if that makes any sense. Like it's not nearly as good as a lot of the other trailers where I have longer on. But I
I
am
think
quite proud of it.
I think it looks spectacular. 'Cause the live elements work so well, and you've captured the feel of what it was like in the fonts.
The great thing about Space 1999 is that there's a ton of great resources. Particularly, I think it's the Space 1999 Catacomb site. So, like, if you need to find out something about space in a hurry, you could just go there, or you can go to the Facebook page, and there'll be a million people that have like really researched this stuff. So it means that you can kind of everything's quite accurate. But it definitely was one for whenever you're having to produce stuff that fast, when something's like being modeled or rendered on screen, like literally, I will only do as much as you can see and then no more. So,
Right.
because like I've got to move on. So, yeah, it was just a load of half-finished models that I had to finish later. And if you look too closely at Moonbase Alpha, like it is literally just I got the schematic and I projected it onto a 3D model. So it's so janky, but it works, hopefully.
Well, it looks great. Let's show the second one, which you did. Was it a year later you did this next one?
So that was the start of this year. I had about 2 months to do this one in comparison. So
Let's look at the comparison. Steve.
Moonbase Alpha, are you there? So are you happy with that one?
yeah, I'm happier with it. You can immediately see how much more detailed Alpha is, like in comparison. And
The broken eagle as it comes in that first shot is just beautiful, with the broken eagle over the
what
over
really
the head.
was quite cool. Just because I'm a sadist, I actually I gave the Eagles colored livery. So the VIP Eagle that Simmons comes in like Breakaway, I added like orange panels to these bits, just kind of as a whim, and also as a wee reference to Chris Foss, who was like one of the original concept artists, and he had a rather famously orange eagle. And it amused me to see that like people on the Eagle Transporter forums were actually painting some of their eagles with that livery. So I quite enjoyed putting it back on, and also like had a wee bottle of the moon tank and things, and it was generally good times. But what else did I have? Because I also like for that, just because my library of Space 1999 models having increased, I could like show like the underground eagle pods and the lasers, and we had laboratory eagles and monsters and cool stuff like that. Like the Volume 1 stories are a great set of stories.
Yeah, they're amazing stories. Did you just put the alpha backgrounds behind the actors?
In some instances, for the most part, I would just I have like a 3D model of main mission and things like that. So, and they didn't have a green screen at the time. They're literally on a white screen, which, considering they're wearing white, was tremendously helpful. You sort of have to like hand cut them out, and then like, and it's only like I think a shot in the intro is only like about 13-15 frames, so it's not exactly that difficult. But and we got to use this one of Mark Bonner, I think, looking up at the his comlock, and there was actually another one I did where like because the photographer had taken a bunch of shots like for each of the like publicity photos, I was able to morph between shots. So there's a few shots where they're like, and that's just because I was able to take two shots and kind of like sort of fade between them, so it looked like they were turning their heads, which I think worked quite well. I think one of our original feedback from Breakaway was that everyone looked a bit static, and obviously that was because they were photographs, but hopefully I improved upon that a little bit.
So it's all photographs. There's no actual video footage you had.
So there's a few bits of video footage. It's just basically some stuff of Mark and some stuff of Maria, but everybody else, like all the other characters, it's just stills. So we had to work with what we had.
Okay, well, I thought we should show some Doctor Who videos as well. The Ravenous. So, pure horror there. Once again, how did you come up with that concept?
So that was the first time that we kind of went for an animation like that. Previously, the trailers beforehand had always kind of like been like reconstructions to some degree, or like they would have quotes from the episode, and it would be over like iconography. Steve came to me. Steve Berry is the current sort of like marketing sort of guy for Big Finish, following on from Patty and Chris, Patty Freeland and Chris, I don't remember his name, but he's a cool guy, Chris with a K. Basically was like, right, we don't want to do just a normal trailer, we want to do something kind of like that's nice and a bit different and a bit viral. So I had this like piece of art I'd done back in 2010, I think it was, of the TARDIS, and it's basically just illuminated solely by fog, kind of almost exactly like it is in that intro there. So I pitched that to him, and I pitched like let's do something with the Paul McGann console room as well, because you just don't see it these days. And yeah, no, I really like that one, because like from a fan point of view, like, because there was obviously, we don't announce trailers. The official policy on trailers is that there's no trailer until the trailer comes out. So I quite liked being able to have this video just go up. Like, you're in the middle of a foggy wood, there's the TARDIS, you go into the TARDIS, something's clearly wrong because the door's ajar and the phone's off the hook. Suddenly you're in the McGann console room, a console room you've not seen for 20 years, and then eventually like a big monster jumps on you. Yeah, no, I found that one quite fulfilling, really, and there was a lot of back and forth about what the Ravenous looked like. They are on the cover of the second one. I think I was actually on Doom Coalition by the time I was working on this trailer, so I didn't know much more than anybody else did about them. So my first take on the Ravenous are actually not that clownish, because they were sort of Big Finish's take on the Killer Clowns. So I think there was about 3 different Ravenouses before we finally got the one that we were happy with. Yeah, no, I think it went down all right.
Looks great. Now, when does the sound element get done? Is it first or afterwards?
Afterwards. So unless it's something very particular, what I tend to do is I tend to make the video first. The Ravenous trailer was Benji. The more recent ones, so the Ninth Doctor ones, is Howard Carter. And for genetics, his name is on the tip of my tongue. Robert T. Harvey. So they're mainly the guys I work with on audio for trailers and music and things. I tend to steer clear of doing the audio part myself, just because it's an audio company, and I think if the audio sounds terrible, it's not too good. So I'm always happy to pass off the stuff that I'm not familiar with onto other people who know their stuff. But
so with the Ravenous trailer, you just put together the whole movie, and then the sound effects and all the music got added afterwards.
Yeah, so basically, I put together the entire soundless movie, and I sent it over to Benji with a few notes, more Cloisterville, etc. And yeah, he came back with that and that absolutely terrifying scream, which I can only assume is just what he sounds like.
Just because I asked, do you know what the scream is? That's the sound effect he was using there, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, well, it's one that obviously he had put together because he did the for trailers. Like, we use whoever did the audio mix and sound mix on them on the set itself does the trailer. So that was a sound effect he'd obviously put together for the Ravenous, and it's probably a collection of different animal noises, or it could just be him.
Yeah, you never know. After late night. Now, so Genetics of the Daleks was done the same way. You're saying it was you put together the video first and the sound was added later?
Yeah, entirely. So for Genetics, we wanted to go for the same horror feel, but we wanted it in a different way. And as is greatly going to become apparent in a lot of my trailers, I love the idea of going backwards, because it means that you can sort of start on an object, and then the further back you get away from it, the more context you can see. So do you want to watch it, and then
let's look at it. Okay, so firstly, who commissioned that? Because that's the time of Lord Victorious. Was that still Big Finish, or someone else that commissioned that one?
Still Big Finish. That was Steve was chatting to me about it, and there was a few extra layers of hoops to go through for that one because it was Time Lord Victorious, and they had to tie in with the live game that they made. So that's why the Dalek has like a yellow eye stalk, and and also kind of informed what the Dalek looked like, because the story basically sets up the live immersive game, which I think they were able to do a bit of before COVID really kicked off. But it's a good story. It's and as always, Big Finish are really they're really open to crazy ideas when it comes to that type of thing. And I really wanted to emulate. Whenever I didn't want to go straight to Alien because that's kind of the obvious choice. So actually, I'm looking at Mass Effect or Dead Space in terms of the horror that's sort of on display there. And yeah, no, it was a nice wee trailer to work on, because I feel like we did genuinely make the Daleks quite scary. I definitely saw in the comments a few people were kind of deeply unsettled.
I think there's that scream cue in there. Well, I think it's a few things. As the ship, as you pull backwards into the model, and you've got the flickering of the incandescent lights, that sound is always a creepy sound. And then as you move the ship, then the music does a scream. And then so before the Dalek or as the Daleks come in, it's actually already this scream, but it's not a scream; it's a music cue. And then and of course, once again, you know what the Dalek's saying before he says it, just by the flashing lights.
There was a lot of back and forth about exactly how we were going to do the sound for that one, because we ended up vetoing it originally, but originally it was going to be just human breathing. So kind of like 2001, because I was going to be in a helmet. This guy, for reasons, is going backwards into a spaceship, and like the more stuff he sees, like everything's a bit freaky. So it's a bit like, and then like when he sees the body, it suddenly becomes a bit. And then he starts hyperventilating when he sees the Dalek. We ended up dropping that because like kind of let the music do its thing. And then Robert did that like really nice. The scream is a reference to the first Alien teaser.
Yeah.
Because it does the wee scream there. And we kind of had a lot of fun doing that. But what actually I also quite enjoyed was how we reveal the Dalek. Because like originally, when I first pitched it, it was very much like camera turns, you see Dalek, you die. And that was looking a bit dull whenever I was working in the edit, basically, because it was sort of like, you turn and there's a Dalek. And like this was at the end of Time Lord Victorious, where people had gotten a bit sick of the Daleks. So it's nobody gets sick of the Daleks. It's just there was a lot of Daleks going on at the time. So I did want to do something genuinely new. So the Dalek's actually revealed in 3 ways. So it's whenever the emergency lighting reveals it, and then it goes black, and then the camera pulls back, and the Dalek walks into the light of the sun, or like it drifts into the light of the sun, which I think is probably the slightly better reveal. And then its dome lights end up like lighting it up for the last shot before they exterminate, and I was quite pleased with that because I felt that was quite effective.
Yeah,
I hope it was effective. Maybe it was effective.
It looks great. So in terms of, I mean, is there actually a director as such? Are you doing this as a group, working out how you're going to do it? How much is actually you're actually in charge because you do the visuals first and people fit around you? Who's the boss?
So basically, it's kind of handed off to me once I've got the pitch in. And it sort of works in different ways. I guess a good example is Anti-Genesis is probably a solid example where I saw the cover and I sent it Steve an email being like, this should make a great idea for a video. And he was like, sure, go do that. Whereas the second Dalek Universe trailer, which is the one with going through the vortex, and like you've got sort of the old school Tom Baker stuff, that was very much an idea that Steve had. So he very much took creative lead on that one. Stuff like the Ninth Doctor one, it basically was, we had a quick Zoom call, we were like, do this, and then 2 months later I came back with a video. So it's Big Finish are very keen and very good at basically being like, go make us a trailer. If we hate it, we'll let you know, but we probably will be quite nice about it.
Okay, let's have a look at Anti-Genesis, because that's a great one. Let me just... Absolutely amazing. So all of that is computer rendered. That's all computer generated Because so I still look at that and it looks like a model to me. I can't tell it's computer.
And funnily enough, that whole thing was actually probably as much a reference to Power of the Daleks as it was to Genesis of the Daleks. But thanks for saying, like, it was what really appealed to me about that one is I like the idea of having a Dalek with no paint on it. So if you sort of look, they're kind of color schemed the same way that they were in Genesis, but I felt there's like a realistic aspect to them by having just them all being bare metal. Particularly in like those close-up shots where like the balls are going in.
Yeah, no, it's just amazing. And once again, it's got that horror element of, and it's almost like body horror, but for Daleks. Not sure that counts.
Yeah, no, like I'm not entirely sure. That's probably that video is the highest viewed one on the Big Finish YouTube channel, and we're not entirely sure what we did right. But that's another one of those, like, the guys were just really nice, and like I pitched that, and they were like, "Sure, let's give it a go. Like, let's try it out." And it was also the first one I directly worked with Nick on, Nick Briggs, because obviously he had to voice the Daleks, and he did a couple of lines of Dalek 1 completed, etc. And I don't know, it's like it's one of those like you've made it moments whenever like your Daleks come like trundling down the corridor and they've got Nick's voice.
It's a real Dalek now.
Yeah, it's like it is officially a Dalek that you made in your bedroom.
Fantastic. I just want to show what. Oh, actually, here we go. I'll show one more. Let me show the latest Christopher Eccleston one.
Yeah, go for it.
Humanity, locked on a single planet, one time, one place. I don't know how you stand it. It's a big universe out there, and you haven't even scratched the surface. Well, it's time to change that. You're going to hear amazing things. You'll go from the Firth of Forth to alien worlds, to the Sphere of Freedom and a giant necropolis. You'll hear musicians in Paris play deadly games, meet monsters on movie sets and the real Macbeth. There'll be new enemies and old friends, people to lose and people to save, and every day the universe at stake. I can't promise it'll be safe. In fact, it'll be very dangerous indeed. But it'll be the greatest journey you'll ever take, I promise you. It'll be fantastic. So tell me, do you want to come on board?
Now, that is as good as anything the BBC ever produced for the Ninth Doctor, and beyond, for that matter.
It's like I'm proud of it. Like I'm sort of aware there was whenever I have to kind of be open-minded about these things. I'd be like, what I'll be able to produce by myself in my office isn't going to be quite as good as the BBC marketing team. But like, I think I gave it a good run for its money.
Yes, I'm not convinced that that's not as good as anything the BBC marketing team did. Now you're talking about the fact that you should do the visuals first. Is that the same case for that one? Or did you actually have Chris Eccleston there and you had the voiceover and then you added the visuals?
Because whenever we did the first Dalek Universe trailer, we had David Tennant's sort of opening speech from the first episode of it.
Yep.
And like that ended up working really well for us because it meant that we could produce something quite new and interesting, and in that particular way, we're able to subvert it as well quite nicely. So that meant that kind of we've started doing that. Like sort of getting stuff specially recorded to kind of like make trailers and things more interesting. And you've probably started noticing that with the Wright brothers doing the I think it was those guys did the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trailer with Nick and like you know the Doomsday Contract, but with the Hitchhiker's style.
Yep.
And the Eric Roberts Master intro trailer that they got him to record. So you're going to probably start seeing more of that, I imagine. But in this instance, we had Chris basically, as part of his studio shoot, recorded a bunch of lines written by John Dorney. And like that kind of formulated what the trailer was going to be. And we knew... So for this one, Steve and I had a wee Skype. And we knew deep down that we wanted to do the Do You Want to Come With Me Trip of a Lifetime trailer.
Yeah.
Because everyone kind of has... Everyone was kind of sharing it. Everybody kind of had that in their memory. We obviously couldn't just do that trailer again. It had to be something new and interesting, which is where obviously there was a slight difference to it. And I couldn't help referencing it in the trailer itself. Like, you can see the amount of people that were like called out that one corridor. I'm getting nostalgic for an explosion. But yeah. No, I think it was that. And also, I kind of knew it was coming. So I had sort of formulated an idea about flying backwards through time portals. And I had a Skype with Steve. And Steve came up with the idea that would start on the first shot of Rose. But instead of going to the planet, like, we'll go away from it. Because, like, it's very much... obviously, the original Ninth Doctor episodes were mostly based on Earth, whereas, like, Ravagers is based all over the place. So it was quite nice to do a bit of that and kind of just go through all these scenes and hopefully really do it justice.
The speed at which it moves is extraordinary. So you're changing from planet to planet, scene to scene, every few seconds. Is it just a mammoth amount of work?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of. It's basically like... Again, that was one of the ones that, like, I don't quite know how I'm going to do this. So I don't know how technically you want me to go in, but basically I have that whole trailer sort of mapped out in a very basic scene, which meant that I had the camera movement somewhat nailed down. And then that way I could kind of build the individual scenes and have them seamlessly integrate with each other.
Yeah, so go super technical for a while. I want to have a word. I want to understand what the word you're saying, but there will be people out there that will be fascinated by the super technical. So give us a couple of minutes of super technical, and I'll just sit here and look and nod like I'm intelligent.
Well, I'm trying to find a good analogy for it, but basically, if every time that it changes location, it's a different scene. That will be, if you imagine, like, I'll deliberately put in like a blue screen or whatever to kind of transition it from, so it flies out of that, and then I can integrate everything post, so it all looks like it's the same scene, but not. And yeah, it basically just takes a lot of pre-planning. It takes a lot of coming up with what you want to do in advance and then sticking to the plan.
But do you storyboard stuff out first then?
No.
It's just all in your head?
So yeah, sometimes I would do a basic story, an animatic. So for genetics, I did an animatic for Steve, and it was basically just the kind of the corridor scene to explain what I meant with the camera going backwards. Or if there's like a particular effect I'm pushing for, I'll show them what the effect is, just so that they kind of know what's going on. For Ravagers, I was able to get the concept across. And they're kind of just like, go for it. Let's see what it looks like. And one of the first images I sort of came up with it was that shot at the end with Chris leaning on the TARDIS, looking up at the sun, which in my original mind was Gallifrey, but or like a burning Gallifrey, but like it is the sun. So because obviously when I'd started this, I didn't have access to Ravagers itself. More often than not, I've probably not heard the story whenever I do the trailers. Nick did send me the scripts for Ravagers, so it was good to integrate a bunch of ideas there. But obviously, with the exception of just a little bit more details of the Cybermen, I don't really know that much about what's coming up as much as anybody else does.
Right.
But
are you working on the next one already then? Next trailer for the next box set?
Not yet. I'm taking a wee break for a moment just to get a bunch of these current Anderson projects out of the way. But I have sent a bunch of trailer pitches in for a bunch of things, and we'll see which ones get picked up. But I do know, obviously, at the end of Ravagers, my new Cyberman design got teased. So are going to have to like spruce that up and get that ready for whenever it's going to be needed.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that some of your trailers are very inspirational. That Chris Thompson one is an inspirational one, where others are quite terrifying or interesting. Actually, I will show another one because I'm going to show the Return of the Cyberman one.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've mentioned Cyberman.
That one started life as just a little test I did by myself. So I did that basically the same thing verbatim. Nothing was changed, except it was a wheel and space Cyberman. Because like they don't get really much attention, and I just thought it'd be quite fun to do. And I remember putting it up and getting a message from Steve being like, "Chris, like we've got an announcement coming. Take that down. We'll pay you or whatever." And I was like, "Okay." So it was like swapped it out for the Invasion Cyberman, and like it became the trailer for Return of the Cybermen. I guess there's not too much to say on it. Like I've for all my animation ability, I actually am not terribly good at characters. So like if you look at the Robots trailer, the Return to Cybermen, and the Sirens trailer, they're all moving quite simply and nothing too complicated's going on. So yeah, no, like that was an effort to kind of like do a bit better with that, and it's not quite there, but it's like I'm not complaining, it's fine.
It looks great, and once again, it's that whole Scream free element that seems to be common to your work. Where's the zipper though?
Where's the zipper? Oh, like the iconic diving suit.
Yes, you're missing the zipper. I was looking for the zipper, it's not there. Now, one of your favorites is Return to Skaro, so we'll play that, and let's get that up. Captured the spirit of Spyro perfectly. So how many times have you actually watched the Daleks?
Oh, it's been a while since I've actually watched it through because it's surprisingly long, and I don't actually have that much spare time. I definitely watched a couple of episodes while I was working on that, though, just to kind of get the feel in. But I'm quite familiar with the story, if that makes any sense. Like I grew up with it, like on VHS and things, so like I can refer back to it quite easily. But that was another one I didn't know much about the story whenever I made that, and whenever I originally pitched it as well, it was in reverse. So what I wanted to do a bit of a twice another time thing, where like the TARDIS dematerializes like at the end of the original episodes, and then you sort of get that like morph to 16:9 as the forest just returns to life. To some degree, the camera pans through, and eventually it ends on like that shot of going into the corridor, and then you just see all the eye stalks start lining up again. And then there was a bit of a note from up above, which was like, basically, could we just calm down on the Daleks, please? So we decided to go for it in reverse, so that it starts in the city and it's all disheveled and there's like foliage everywhere and there's raining. And I love that first shot because like any Doctor Who fan knows exactly where that is from the shape of the corridor.
I was going to say, the thing that strikes me is just how it captures it perfectly in terms of that shape of the door. It's never been done before. I'm not sure it's been done since or not. But even the round circle door that you come out of the city is also almost an iconic shot. It's just iconic shot after iconic shot, and you even make the lake monster look good.
I always thought the lake monster was good. He's a good boy. I was quite pleased with that shot where you sort of pan out of the door into the city because I recreated the map painting that they had on set. So there was obviously a 2D panel behind them, and that is that map painting. I followed it pretty closely, and a few people commented being like, yes! Like, it's sort of fans, if you know, you know. But no, I wanted to put the lake monster in. The Metalodon, or whatever the thing's called, that's just where time ran out. Like, my original plan was for it to scurry in and then scurry out again, but again, it was getting quite close to release time, and I just settled for the eyes to kind of pop up. So
do you find it ironic talking about a dead planet and putting so much life in it?
Well, a little bit, yeah, I guess. Like, it was, I think it was the appeal, like, obviously in the episode, it is dead, and, like, it's a huge point of it being a petrified forest, and there's that element of, like, what would it look like if it wasn't? So, yeah, like I said, I actually haven't had a chance to listen to Return to Skaro, but apparently I got a lot of the plot points right.
It's a brilliant audio. It's probably one of the best. Probably my favorite one, actually, of that whole section of Doctor Who. So in terms of Doctor Who, how did you get into Doctor Who?
How did I get into Doctor Who? I kind of remember UK Gold used to screen like a lot of the original omnibuses. So I think I must have started watching with Pertwee, and then for whatever reason it jumped back to like Hartnell. So I kind of experienced it in this weird like part of the Third Doctor, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then by the time we'd got to like the Second Doctor, we're already fans, so we're just kind of like filling out the collection of VHS tapes of everybody else. And then on my 15th birthday, the new series came back, and that was pretty cool. That's Christopher Eccleston and all, and it was that. I think that's what made it extra fun to be able to, like, obviously 21 years later or whatever it was, to be like, right, 16 years later to do the trailer for his return, because obviously like there's like that little bit of a personal connection there anyway. But yeah, no, so I've been into Doctor Who most of my life, and I feel quite blessed to have been able to watch the classic series and have that kind of completed before the new series came along, because I do feel like, well, you can't, like, there's nothing against people who haven't got back to the classic series, because it's older TV is a commitment. I sort of appreciate it. Does I do feel like I do there is a enhanced experience, like you're sort of watching a more complete show if you do.
So what's your dreams for the future? What are you hoping to do? What's your plans?
What are my plans?
Or you can do anything. What do you want to do?
Like, I'm currently writing like 2 book projects. There will be more trailers. I guess if I had a dream project, if it was like a dream Doctor Who related project, I guess I would love to do a series of, for Star Trek, they did a series of short tracks. And I would love to do something similar in the world of Doctor Who, like go back and do a bunch of anthology stories about random stuff within that world. But beyond that, like I'm loving life the way it is and just vibing.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great talking to you. We love your work. And yeah, keep it up.
Much obliged. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Philip. That was an awesome interview. I'm very, very sorry I couldn't be there. Chris Thompson, thank you so much for spending so much time with Philip. I'd love to say it was us, but yeah, unfortunately I couldn't make it. And yeah, some really, really high quality stuff. And I tell you, the one trailer that stood out to me this year was Space 1999. It really got me excited about that series.
Yeah, everything about that works well. Well, we missed having you there, Dwayne. It wasn't the same not having you there.
Oh. So I'll try not to do that again. All right. Let's go to some recommendations for this week. And if I'm not mistaken, Philip, it's your turn.
It is. Well, there you go. I'm going to recommend what I've just finished listening to today, but it's probably been out for a while. Oh, I don't know when this is coming out. Anyhow, it's the latest Torchwood. So, the 5 people you kill in Middlesbrough. So, it's Tracy Ann Oberman. It says it's written by Yvonne Hartman, which is part of a joke about the whole thing. But I love the Torchwood monthly series. I think where they've taken the show is just brilliant. It's just, better and better. And you just mentioned they won an award. Dwayne, what award has Big Finish just won?
Yeah, Scribe Award for Tropical Beach Sounds and Other Relaxing Seascapes Volume 4.
With Sir Michael Palin. Yes. So this monthly series of Torchwood is being unbelievably creative. Every month's different. You're never quite sure where it's going to go. So this one's an Yvonne Hartman story. It's a very thinly veiled look at COVID. It's not about COVID. It's a science fiction theme. It's about a spaceship that hits the Earth, and Yvonne Hartman's trying to go from person to person to get people to do something, and it's all the objections for why they can't do anything. But it's really COVID. It's looking at, can't believe the science, can't believe this, can't believe that. It's very, very clever, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
I'm sure I will. Looking forward to getting to that one.
And what about you, Dwayne? What have you been listening to? What are you going to recommend?
I am going to recommend something I recently finished listening to as well, and that is The War Doctor Begins. So that was featuring Jonathan Carley, an absolutely sensational characterisation of a young war doctor leading straight in from the events of Night of the Doctor. So I can't, for anyone who's sceptical of recasting, give this a go, because you're going to be very, very pleasantly surprised. There are a couple of characters within that have also been recast that they couldn't get back. Like, I think the leader of the Sisterhood, she's been recast, but recast with someone that's very close to Louise Jameson, the director. So there's a lot of good chemistry there. And yeah, 3 very, very different stories, 3 very competent writers. And I can't praise this enough. It's all come together so well. It was really highly anticipated, this one, in lots and lots of different corners of fandom, and it has paid off very well. I'm looking forward to the next set.
Yeah, it is stunning. The first episode in particular was so Shakespearean. It was interesting. I was trying to work out what I thought Louise Jameson brought as a director, and the thing to me was rhythm. The characters speak with rhythm, like unusually so. It's just had this rhythm to it all the time. It's had pauses. It was just so rich with dialogue, and yeah, all of them are great. Great choice.
Thanks again, Philip, for a great show. We will be back next time. Until then, catch you later.
Bye, everyone.
You have been listening to the Sirens of Audio episode 65. Listen with your eyes with our special guest Chris Thompson and your hosts Philip Edney and Dwayne Bunny. Next time on the show, we'll be joined by our good friend Suky Khakh from the legendary UK podcasts Progtor and Trek This Out to talk about 3 classic series slight returns to Big Finish: Return of the Krotons, Return to the Web Planet, and The Feast of Axos. Theme music by the Jackpot Golden Boys. Email address is sirensofaudio@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on your favourite podcatcher. Join our Facebook group by searching for the Sirens of Audio on that platform. Tweet us at Audio Sirens. Stop your mind wandering by staring incessantly at cover art while you listen to only the finest quality audio drama. Because audio drama... Raw!